Welcome back to Mage with a Mic, the top performing podcast here in Thither. I'm your host, Mage Doughball. Remember to sound upbeat and enthusiastic. That's just a note for me. I don't do multiple takes though, so that'll have to do. In this episode, I'm going to take you along to visit Dora Grumple, the oldest woman in Thither, and possibly the oldest woman across all 6 faces. Now you might be thinking, how old is she exactly? Well, I'll tell you this. Dora's age is one of those things no one can quite pin down. Some say she's been around since the Great Pebble War. Others say she's just been lying about her age for centuries. Personally, I'm just here to see if she's still got the energy to tell me off for asking her how old she is. Which I absolutely will do, obviously. Before I get into that though, it's time to share the latest revelations. Next week, weeping clouds are expected to arrive above Bappingdon. These skybound creatures will either bless the ground with the illustrious element scap, making it the richest city in all of Thither, or curse it with a deadly corrosive gas. Bappingdon Council warns that visitors during the weeping risk a fine of at least 2 extra limbs being grafted upon them. Explains why so many Bappingdon guys tell me they have a third leg, I suppose. Thanks in part to a recent worldwide unionisation of hatters, there is now a shortage of wizard hats. This shortage has had deep impacts in many communities, with wizards, those learned fakers, refusing to perform magic. When asked for comment, Chief Wizard of Thither's Magical Academy, Sir Piddlewick the Moist, explains that, quote, "Most wizards need their hat as a sort of chimney for excess magical thoughts. Without a suitable hat, spells will swiftly become unstable and could upend all magical machinations across all faces of the world." The chairwoman of the Hatters Union replied, saying that they would continue normal production of magical headwear once their demands have been met. The list of demands is exhaustive and includes things such as pay, mediocre treatment of workers as standard, and Glimmercoal's day off. Negotiations between wizards and hatters are expected to take place in the coming days. And finally, Floaty McGoatface. The mysterious floating goat has been granted full Thitherian airspace rights, following 17 years of extensive testing. Turns out, he is just a goat who floats. Authorities had worried he might be collecting intelligence for a foreign face, but luckily, there's not much intelligence to steal here in Thither. Tomorrow, Floaty is set to be released back into the skies, with crowds already gathering to celebrate. At this point, Floaty McGoatface is officially freer than I am. Good for him. That's all the time we have for revelations today. Now, on to our main story. I'm glad to say that after my brilliant, insightful and thought-provoking chat with Brixen last episode, the technical boffins that created the vocal capturing device have created a new version which is now portable. It means I'll be able to bring you with me rather than just recount everything all the time. You'll get my thoughts and feelings firsthand, you lucky muffins. And yes, I know, I'm technically always with you in your hearts. But now you can actually hear my beautiful thoughts as I experience them. You're officially in for the raw Doughball experience. Now, when I was told I'm going to visit the oldest woman in Thither, I expected her to live on the edge of the woods in some old decrepit lodging. The kind of thing you picture when you imagine a cliché crone. It seems that Dora Grumple is only half a cliché. I'm making my way to her house now, which is situated in the capital of Thither. It may be my personal bias, but such a sprawling metropolitan area, a haven for the busy and those feigning importance, is hardly a suitable environment for a woman who's apparently older than dust. Yet here she lives. I had to check the address I was given for her multiple times, as apparently she lives in the centre of the financial district. It just didn't make any sense to me. The buildings here are all more modern than a dwarf with a chainsaw instead of an axe. Then I saw it. Nestled neatly between 2 colossal glass and metal skyscrapers is a modest-looking, ancient home. From the outside, it seems so out of place that your brain almost doesn't even want to register it's there. But there it is. The buildings flanking it are clearly annoyed by its presence. It's as though the towering spires are begrudgingly bowing to the presence of something as old and humble as this simple combination of wood, brick and thatch. People of every race and class rush past, too busy to even notice the house, like it's too insignificant to deserve a second glance. Everyone's too busy filing in and out of the pillars of industry to even consider what was here before. I haven't even met the woman yet, but I have to admit, I'm kinda digging her defiant nature. Maybe she's a maverick, pushing boundaries and changing the status quo while staying remarkably humble. Just like me. As I head towards the front door, I notice something a bit awry. Suddenly there's a commotion near the entrance of Dora's house. People milling about, whispering and pointing. And as I get closer, I realise that it's not the usual gossiping crowd you get outside some of the finer establishments in Thither. As I jostle my way through the crowd, I see a small procession of people exiting the house carrying someone. They're moving at a slow pace, almost as if they're being extra careful, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's going on. There, nestled in their arms, is a woman. Well, she was a woman, or at least that's what I assume from the faint crinkled face and the very "thank the gods that's all over" look about her. She's been carefully wrapped up in a blanket, though I don't think it's for warmth. It's more likely to, to preserve the remains. The entire scene feels like something out of an overly dramatic play. One of those shows where the lead actor spends a good 20 minutes sighing and shaking their head, and the critics think it's phenomenal. Only here, instead of a lead actor, I'm confronted by a very deed actor. I can't help but wonder, was this Dora's plan all along? Maybe I was the final straw. Maybe she decided that she'd had enough of the "you look so young for your age" comments. Or perhaps someone else decided that the oldest woman in Thither needed a little assistance crossing over to the other side. I watch as they bundle the body into the back of a mortician's wagon and the crowd goes about their day. For the business people of the capital, a death is likely nothing more than a tale to talk about at the water cooler. But for me, it's a bloody inconvenience. It took me 3 days to travel here. The old crone couldn't even be bothered to stay alive for long enough for me to talk to her. There's no chance I'm going home without a story. Even if I wanted to, my return ticket isn't valid for another 2 hours, and I'm absolutely not paying to upgrade to an anytime return. So, I stand outside of the house for a moment, watching the procession as it disappears around the corner. The remaining stragglers of the crowd disperse quickly, returning to their busy lives as though nothing unusual has happened. But I can't help but think something feels off. The air feels thicker now, like the world itself is holding its breath. I glance back at the house. It's the kind of place that sends a chill down your spine if you let your imagination wander. Old, creaky, and as out of place as a politician in heaven. I can't shake the feeling that something isn't quite right. Sure, I'd expected a crumbling hovel, but this? There's just something unsettling about it. Maybe it's the juxtaposition of the impossibly old nestling amongst the breathtakingly new. Maybe it's the quiet from the house. In a city of noise and people and deals and non-stop industry, this small patch of the world is just too quiet. No bustling servants, no lights flickering through the windows, just stillness. A patch of calm in the middle of a raging storm. I slip through the gate and up to the door, trying to remain as inconspicuous as possible. There's no sense in knocking now, so I give the door a nudge. It swings open on its own. I step inside. Instantly a shiver runs down my spine. The air in here is damp, thick with dust and the smell of something unfamiliar. There's no sign of life, at least not in the usual sense. The house seems to hold secrets in every creak and groan of the floorboards. The first room I step into is a large, darkened sitting room. The heavy curtains are drawn, casting the room in an eerie twilight. Cobwebs hang from the corners, yet their creators are nowhere to be seen. It's as if all life has ceased here now. A large portrait of a woman, who I assume to be Dora, or perhaps someone related to her, dominates the far wall. Her verdigris eyes seem to follow me as I approach, though it's likely just the low lighting playing tricks. I decide to move deeper into the house, pushing open a door at the end of the hall. A cold draft hits me, sending a shiver across my neck. The room is full of old furniture, things that probably haven't been touched in decades, or maybe even centuries. In one corner, a creaky old rocking chair sways slightly, and a dusty grandfather clock ticks at an abnormal pace. It's still all too quiet. All too still. I journey deeper into the house, tiptoeing down the narrow hallway, past a row of old portraits hanging crookedly on the walls. Each frame is at a varying state of decay, the paints within beginning to peel and shed in small bundles below. At the end of the corridor, I spot a door that's slightly ajar. Hesitantly, I approach. Curiosity gnaws at me. I push the door open gently. Inside is a room that seems frozen in time. The centrepiece is a bed. It's a grand old-fashioned thing draped with faded blankets. Flanking it is a vanity table, a wardrobe, and a bookshelf packed with volumes that look even older than the house itself. But what catches my journalistic eye is a little desk tucked into the corner. On it sits a diary, the pages already yellowing with age. It's just begging for someone to read it. And I'm someone. I'd even argue I'm the someone. Surely no harm can come from taking a peek. I sit down, the chair creaking beneath my weight as I lean over the diary. The gap in the curtains illuminating the page just enough to be legible. The writing is neat but old-fashioned, and the ink's faded just enough to make it feel like I'm uncovering a long-lost secret. I turn the pages carefully. Most entries are mundane. Weather notes, neighbour gossip, complaints about the city's noise. But then I find something far more intriguing. It reads, "Another year gone. Time moves so quickly when you've lived this long. I've lost count of the people I've known. Families, friends, lovers. Most of them gone now. I've always wondered why some people last longer than others. Is it fate, or is it because we have unfinished business? Perhaps the strangest part of it all is that I still feel as if there's something I need to do. As if the world isn't quite finished with me yet. Maybe that's the curse of living this long. You always feel like you're on the edge of something important, but never quite able to reach it." I couldn't help but wonder, what was Dora thinking? What did she mean by unfinished business? I flip through a few more pages, but the entries are just getting more cryptic. There's no clear answers, just musings on life, death, and the passing of time. It's unsettling. It's like she's been preparing for something, or maybe waiting for something to happen. There's a heaviness in her words that I can't quite place. I lean back in the chair. The diary's still open in my hands. I should stop. I should leave and just explain to the tourism board what happened. They'll understand. People die all the time. But something pulls me back into the diary. Something I had no explanation for. It seems stupid, but I felt compelled to read the last entry. You know, Dora's last entry. Maybe it had some insight as to what she was preparing for. I quickly finger through the pages until I reach the last piece of ink-stained parchment. Curiously, it's entries for tomorrow's date, and the ink is barely dry. That mage visited yesterday. He didn't arrive on time, though. It's a shame. I foresaw everything that was going to happen so perfectly, apart from his punctuality. If he was reliable, my orchestration would have been incredibly timely. It means he had to witness the death. Most of us encounter the end more than once. Myself more than any other. I regret we didn't have the chance to talk. I've heard ever so much about him. You don't get many mages nowadays, nor does he know the truth." No, absolutely not doing it. No, thank you. Look, I can deal with all kinds of magic, right? Even the cheap stuff that those so-called learned folk throw around. But foresight? Premonitions? No thank you. That is an unnatural skill that drives people mad. Perhaps that's how Dora lasted so long. Maybe she could just see far enough into her future to sidestep her own demise. I know about magic more than most, and I believe that time is the one force no person should ever attempt to hold dominion over. I've heard of many who've tried, and all it does is expedite their demise. Maybe Dora Grumple was the one person who'd managed to domesticate the feral nature of progression. If so, that old woman could have been the most powerful being on all of the faces. She could have held her own against the gods, for even they begin to decay in the end. I hate to say it, but perhaps it's for the best that she's gone. Just as I'm about to make an incredibly swift exit from this relic of a bygone age, I hear something. A faint noise from the other end of the hall. Something soft, like a creak of wood. I freeze, my ears on high alert. It's probably nothing. Probably just the house settling, I tell myself. But something tells me that I'm wrong. I find my hand instinctively reaching for the nearest object to defend myself from a potential attack. It's a rusted can of whiz-bang magic spray. It must be a couple of decades old at least. It still says it's not for witches. I realise that I could use the remnants of its contents to incapacitate an intruder. Hang on, wait, no. I'm the intruder. Look, regardless, I could use the spray to incapacitate whatever's lurking here, other than myself. I edge my way towards the sound when I spot something strange on the floor. A trail of what looks like wet footprints leading down the hallway, disappearing behind an old door. A part of me wonders if I should just turn around and leave. No, this is it. This is what I came for. I'm here to uncover the truth, and nothing, especially not a creaky old house, will stop me now. I continue my approach with the utmost caution, every movement feeling like it echoes through the entire house, every footstep shaking the ancient foundations to their core. As I get closer, I hear what I could swear is the sound of water splashing. The soft, rhythmic sound of... Wait, is that a bath? I reach for the doorknob, but something makes me hesitate. It's as though the door itself is whispering to me, pleading with me not to enter. But I just can't stop now. I'm doing this for you, dear listener. I ready my can of whiz-bang, take a breath, and swing the door open. Before me is a sight that is the most unsettling vision I have ever seen. The shock made me drop the whiz-bang on the ground. You're lucky that I'm not a bard and don't have the sufficient language to describe such a horror to you. It's repulsive, but I can't seem to turn away. It must have been the shock of this impossibility that caused me to freeze. Knowing I can never forget this is hell. There, reclining in her birthday suit, is none other than Dora Grumple. She's alive, and quite frankly, looking completely unbothered by the fact I've just barged in. Her ancient body submerged up to her neck in warm water, a faint cloud of steam rising around her. She's whispering a phrase in an unknown tongue to herself, either completely unaware of my presence, or arguably even worse, she's totally fine with it. Finally, she notices me, and for a moment we just stare at each other. She seems to be studying me and paying great attention to the magical binding chain on my wrist. Slowly, her gaze reaches mine, and she raises a wrinkled eyebrow at me, her eye twinkling in the candlelight, as if she's silently asking me if I enjoy the view. I just don't have words for her. There's nothing I could say that could make this even remotely okay or palatable. I miraculously managed to blurt out a "sorry for intruding," and then step back and close the bathroom door. The blood drains from my face. If I don't get out now, I may well be the next person requiring the mortician's wagon. In normal circumstances, when I have access to my magic, I just fly straight out the window. Unfortunately, with my sentence far from over, and all magic privileges still bound, I had to make do with what I had. Running was never my forte, but my legs carried me out in record time. Exiting the front door was jarring. The financial district's mundane glory an immediate contrast. Gone was the musk and quiet and sea of wrinkles. I was back in the realm of steel and noise and hundreds of self-absorbed people. I may not have been able to speak to Dora Grumple herself, but I feel like I know her now better than most, and that old crone terrifies me. Since returning from the capital, I learned that the woman who was carried out by the mortician at my arrival was actually Dora's great-great-granddaughter, Rachel McTavan. Mrs. McTavan passed away in her family home of old age at 103. The Tourism Board of Thither has also advised me to state that you should not heckle or visit Dora Grumple unsolicited. Not that I think she'd mind, as she'd clearly know you were coming, but hopefully she'd have the courtesy of being dressed should you pay her a visit. Which, again, I should say you absolutely shouldn't, of course. And that's all we have time for in this episode, I'm afraid. Not my most successful interview, but one hell of an expose on someone I say we should all be wary of. I mean, come on. Do you really believe that Dora Grumple is just a simple, kindly old woman? That's about as likely as me having my sentence cut short. Join me next time when I'll be attending a convention for the vampiric community and learning all about their culture, their customs, and their history with Thither. Until then, I'm Mage Doughball, serving my sentence by serving you. Stay magical, world, and remember, visit Thither.